Back in my movie making days, people often asked me, what does it take to be a writer or a director? Well, my answer never changed. You must be a storyteller. You have to understand the dynamics of story, like the fact that any good one begins with an inciting incident, a doorway the main character steps through and cannot return from. He enters that doorway to satisfy a need or desire, something he believes will make his life a better story than the one he's been living. Well, I started thinking about this again after rereading The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, and his premise that our lives are, in fact, a story. The problem is, the story we're writing for ourselves is too often not a very good one. And I don't think that's entirely our fault. Most of us were never taught to apply the elements of story to our own lives. See, it makes perfect sense to me. People can't live without a story, good or bad, without a role to play. And if our parents or whoever raised us didn't model a good one, we end up flipping through the channels of life, looking for a story with adventure, rebellion, independence, romance, fearless people, chase scenes, and a strong bass beat. Anything that seems to represent what our life isn't. We keep flipping, trying to find something riveting enough to watch, never realizing that every day we are writing our own story. And it can be whatever we choose it to be. So yes, life is all about story. And what is story? Allow me to paraphrase a quote attributed to Stanley Kubrick. A good story is an interesting premise that builds logically to a satisfying and surprising conclusion. Of course, in our own story, we cast ourselves as the hero, the one who steps through the inciting incident, loses everything, loses his best friend, his reputation, his business, but ultimately defeats the bad guys, saves the world, and goes home with the leading lady. Isn't that who we all set out to be? But we know that's not how it goes. It's easy to end up as a footnote. So here's how it works when you live a story. The beginning happens fast. You throw yourself into the narrative, and you find yourself standing on the shore of the lake of life, determined to reach a distant island where you're convinced nirvana awaits. So you push off in your little rowboat and start paddling. And as you look back, the shore you left grows smaller. Looking ahead, the distant beach doesn't seem to be all that far. You can almost feel the resolution approaching the moment you step out of the boat and walk the white sands of bliss. After all, isn't that what the commercials have taught us? You think you'll paddle for a bit and arrive by lunch. But the reality is your quest for a better story isn't going to be over anytime soon. In the metaphor that is life, there is a point where most people give up on their story. They get to the middle and discover it's harder than they thought. I saw a lot of that in Hollywood. People became frustrated when their paddling didn't seem to move them forward. They worried they were just paddling in place, and often they took their frustrations out on those the closest to them, ultimately turning to sex and alcohol or drugs as they searched for an easier story. And as if that wasn't enough, once you walk through that first doorway, that inciting incident, there's a very good chance you'll encounter other doorways, more choices, more turning points, more chapters. It sounds daunting, but here's the truth. If you aren't writing your own story, someone else is writing it for you. And they probably won't make you the hero. So when the credits roll at the end of our story, we could easily find ourselves wondering what we did with our lives and why so many pages were left blank. Or is it just me? So I leave you with one question, one that only you can answer. How's your story coming along?